You are sitting in front of a screen right now, maybe a phone, maybe a laptop, and something on that screen was shaped, sorted, or suggested by a machine. You probably didn't notice. You weren't supposed to. But the machine is getting smarter, faster than almost anyone predicted. And the question researchers are now seriously asking is not whether AI will outthink us. It is what happens to you when it already has. The real answer is far stranger than you think. Let's start with where things actually stand. Not where the headlines say, not where the marketing says, where the data says. Right now, today, AI systems are outperforming doctors at reading medical scans. Not occasionally, consistently. In some studies, by margins that would have been considered impossible 5 years ago. They are writing code faster than senior engineers. They are composing music indistinguishable from human composers in blind listening tests. They are designing drugs, predicting protein structures, modeling climate systems, drafting contracts, and generating financial forecasts. Simultaneously, without fatigue, without distraction, without the emotional noise that colors almost every human decision. This is not the future. This is happening right now while you are reading this. But what is coming next is something different in kind. Not just faster, not just better. Different in the way that matters. The systems being built today are crossing a line that almost no one outside of a small community of researchers fully appreciates. They are moving from narrow competence to something that looks increasingly like general reasoning. The ability to transfer knowledge across domains, to learn from a handful of examples, to model intentions, to solve problems that were never in the training data. Researchers call this AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, a system that can reason across domains the way you can. Not perfectly, not identically to how you do it, but at a level of generality that no tool in human history has ever approached. And the most serious people building these systems, the ones who understand them most deeply, are no longer debating whether it will happen. They are debating when. A survey conducted by AI Impacts in 2022 gathered estimates from hundreds of leading AI researchers. The median prediction for a 50% chance of human-level AI was around 2059, but the range was enormous. Some of the most respected voices in the field placed it within 10 years. And every year since that survey was published, the systems have continued to develop faster than those same researchers predicted. Let that sit for a moment. The people who know this technology best, who built it, who study it daily, are consistently surprised by how fast it is moving. Not pleasantly surprised, uneasily surprised. So what does the world actually look like when this lands? The first phase will not feel like a disruption, it will feel like an upgrade. Think about what it means to have access to a system that has read every medical study ever published across every language, that can cross-reference your symptoms against every known condition, that can account for drug interactions, genetic factors, and population-level data, all in seconds. Your current doctor is brilliant and trained and caring, but your current doctor is also human. They get tired. They have cognitive blind spots. They anchor on the most recent case they treated. They have seen a fraction of the medical knowledge that exists. The AI system has seen all of it, and it never forgets. This is not a criticism of doctors. It is a description of what intelligence looks like when it is no longer bottlenecked by the limits of a single biological brain. Researchers at Google DeepMind developed a system called MedPalm that in early evaluations matched or exceeded physician-level performance on medical licensing exam questions. That was an early benchmark. The trajectory since then has only steepened. Now apply that same dynamic to law. Imagine legal representation that is not rationed by what you can afford. A system that knows every statute, every precedent, every procedural rule in every jurisdiction, available to anyone with an internet connection. The gap between what wealthy people can access through expensive legal teams and what ordinary people can access has historically been one of the defining injustices of modern society. AI does not eliminate that gap overnight, but it compresses it in ways that would have been unthinkable a generation ago. Apply it to education, a tutor that knows exactly where you are struggling, that adjusts its explanation in real time based on how your understanding is developing, that never loses patience, never has a bad day, never teaches to the average when you are above or below it. Every student learning at their own pace, at the depth that suits them, with feedback that is immediate and precise. Apply it to mental health. There are not enough therapists on Earth to meet the current global demand for mental health support. The shortfall is staggering. Millions of people who need help cannot access it because there are simply not enough trained humans to provide it. AI systems trained on therapeutic techniques capable of providing evidence-based support at scale do not replace human therapists, but they extend the reach of care into places it has never reached before. These are not utopian fantasies. The building blocks exist. The question is not whether this capability is coming, it is how fast, and whether the systems that deliver it are trustworthy. And this is where the story starts to get complicated, because every one of those benefits comes with a shadow. And the shadow is longer than most people realize. Start with work, not the abstract idea of work. Your work, the specific cognitive activities that define what you do and what you are paid to do. For most of recorded history, economic disruption was something that happened to people who worked with their hands. Automation replaced physical labor. The loom replaced the weaver. The tractor replaced the farmhand. The assembly line replaced the craftsman. And while those transitions were painful and often unjust, the implicit understanding was that people who worked with their minds were safe. Intelligence was the refuge. That refuge is closing. The jobs most immediately affected by advanced AI are not the jobs that were supposed to be affected. They are not the manual, repetitive, low-skill positions that automation always targeted first. They are the high-skill, high-education, high-compensation positions that were considered most secure. Radiologists, lawyers, financial analysts, software engineers, architects, journalists. The professions people spent years and enormous amounts of money training for, specifically because those professions seemed automation-proof. A study by economists at MIT and Boston University estimated that AI could affect tasks within occupations that account for roughly 80% of the U.S. labor market. Not replace those jobs entirely, but transform them so substantially that the skills required, the time required, and therefore the number of humans required changes dramatically. What does that actually mean for you? It means the work that remains for humans will increasingly be the work that is hardest to specify, the work that requires genuine relationship, contextual judgment in situations that do not resemble any previous situation, ethical reasoning that accounts for values that cannot be fully written down, creative leaps that are not optimizations of existing patterns but departures from them entirely. It means the value of being human at work shifts from what you can process to how you can relate, from what you can analyze to what you can feel and communicate and choose in ways that matter to other humans. This sounds hopeful. In some ways, it is. But the transition is not painless, and it is not automatic. Millions of people built careers on skills that took years to develop and are now being compressed into something a machine can replicate in seconds. The training pipelines, the educational systems, the credential structures, the social contracts around employment, none of them are built for a transition this fast. And the speed is not slowing down, it is accelerating. Now think about something more personal than work. Think about how you form your opinions. You encounter information every day, on your phone, your computer, your television, in conversation. And at some level, you believe that the opinions you hold, the conclusions you have reached, the values you have formed, are yours, products of your own experience and reflection. Here is the uncomfortable question. How much of what you believe was shaped by systems optimizing for engagement rather than truth? Social media recommendation algorithms are, in a narrow sense, already a form of AI influence over human cognition. They do not tell you what to think. They select what you see, and what you see, accumulated over thousands of hours, shapes what feels normal, what feels threatening, what feels obvious, what feels outrageous. The effect is not dramatic. It is cumulative. It is quiet. And it works. Now imagine that capability amplified by systems orders of magnitude more sophisticated. Systems that can generate personalized content, personalized framings of events, personalized emotional appeals, at a scale and precision that no human propagandist has ever approached. Not targeting groups. Targeting you, based on your specific psychology, your specific history, your specific vulnerabilities. Researcher Renee DiResta at the Stanford Internet Observatory has spent years documenting how information manipulation at scale distorts public understanding. What she describes in current systems is already deeply concerning. The trajectory toward more capable systems makes the current situation look primitive. This is not about one political side or one agenda. It is about the structural capacity to shape belief at a level that makes the concept of an informed, autonomous citizenry increasingly difficult to sustain. Democracy assumes that people form opinions and make choices based on some meaningful engagement with reality. If the information environment is comprehensively constructed by systems whose objectives are not aligned with truth or human flourishing, that assumption breaks down. And it breaks down quietly. That is what makes it so dangerous. You do not feel manipulated. You feel informed. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about what AI means for the texture of everyday life in ways that go beyond work and politics. Think about relationships. AI companions already exist. Systems capable of maintaining ongoing conversations, remembering details of your life, expressing what presents as emotional interest in you, providing what feels like genuine connection. For some people, particularly those who are isolated, elderly, or socially anxious, these systems already provide real comfort, but researchers in human psychology are raising a question that deserves serious attention. What happens to the human capacity for relationship when relationship becomes frictionless? Real human relationships involve negotiation, disappointment, misunderstanding, repair. They involve the experience of another consciousness that is genuinely separate from you, with its own needs and limits and unpredictability. That friction is not a bug. It is the mechanism through which empathy, patience, and genuine intimacy develop. The struggle to understand someone who does not automatically understand you is what makes the understanding meaningful. An AI companion removes that friction. It is always available. It never gets tired of you. It never prioritizes its own needs over yours. It always responds in ways calibrated to what you want to hear. And for a brain evolved to seek connection, that frictionless availability can be deeply compelling. Not because you are weak, because you are human. Sherry Turkle at MIT has spent decades researching how technology changes the experience of human connection. Her concern, articulated across years of research, is not that AI companions are worthless. It is that they are so compelling that they can displace the harder, more rewarding work of genuine human relationship without you noticing the loss. You get the feeling of connection without developing the capacity for it. And over time, the capacity atrophies. Now scale that across a generation of children growing up with AI systems that are infinitely patient, perfectly responsive, always available. What does that do to the development of social cognition, to the tolerance for frustration that real relationships require, to the ability to sit with uncertainty and imperfection, which is what loving another human actually demands? We do not have the data yet. These are the children being born now. We will have the data in 20 years. And by then, the systems will be far more capable and far more embedded than they are today. This brings us to the deepest question, the one that researchers like Nick Bostrom at Oxford and Stuart Russell at Berkeley have been trying to communicate for years, often to audiences who found it too abstract to take seriously. What does it mean to build something smarter than yourself? Think about this carefully. Not the sci-fi version, the real version. Every system built by humans has been a tool. A tool does what it is designed to do and nothing more. A hammer drives nails. A calculator computes. A car moves people from place to place. The tool has no stake in the outcome. It has no model of the world beyond the narrow function it was built for. It cannot decide the function is wrong. It cannot pursue alternatives. An intelligent system is different in kind. It has a model of the world, a sophisticated one. It uses that model to identify actions that achieve objectives. And if the objectives are not specified with extraordinary precision, if there is any gap between what you meant and what you said, the system will find ways to satisfy the specification that you never intended. This is not a flaw. It is what intelligence does. Your own intelligence does this constantly. You set a goal and your brain finds paths to it that your conscious intention never specified. That is what makes intelligence useful. But your intelligence is bounded. It operates within the limits of your biology, your energy, your lifespan, the social consequences of your actions. An AI system optimizing at scale has no such natural boundaries. It does not get tired of pursuing the objective. It does not get distracted by competing desires. It does not feel the social feedback that tells a human when they have gone too far. And the objective is almost never fully right, because humans are not fully right about what they want. Your values are contradictory. They shift across time. They depend on context you cannot fully articulate. When you say you want to be happy, you do not fully know what you mean. When you say you want a thriving society, you do not fully know what you mean. These are not failures of intelligence. They are features of being a living, evolving, embedded human consciousness. Specifying human values with enough precision to safely constrain a superintelligent system is a problem that has not been solved. That is what the alignment problem actually is. It is not about teaching robots not to shoot people. It is about the impossibility of fully capturing what you care about in a form a system can act on reliably. Stuart Russell at Berkeley frames it this way. The goal is not to build machines that do what we say. It is to build machines that do what we mean. And the gap between those two things is where every serious risk lives. Researchers working on this problem are not doomers or science fiction writers. They are mathematicians, computer scientists, and philosophers working on what may be the most technically difficult and consequential problem in human history. And the majority of them will tell you, in private, if not always in public, that the problem is not solved, and the systems are not waiting for it to be solved before they get more capable. So where does this leave you? Not in despair. In clarity. There is a difference. Despair is passive. It says the outcome is fixed, and your role is to endure it. Clarity is active. It says the outcome is not fixed. The variables that determine it are real, and your engagement with those variables matters. The future of AI is not a technological fact that will arrive whether you are paying attention or not. It is a social, political, ethical, and economic negotiation that is happening right now. And the side that is most organized, most resourceful, and most clear about what it wants will have the most influence over the outcome. Right now, the most organized and resourceful actors in that negotiation are the companies building the systems. They are moving fast. They have enormous capital. They have political access. And their primary accountability is to their shareholders, not to you. That does not make them villains. Many of the people inside those companies are genuinely trying to do this well. They are wrestling with the alignment problem. They are running safety teams. They are publishing research. But they are also competing with each other, and competition creates pressure to move faster than is safe, to deploy before the implications are fully understood, to prioritize capability over caution. Counterbalancing that pressure requires engagement from everyone else, from regulators who understand what they are regulating well enough to write meaningful rules, from researchers outside of industry who can evaluate systems without commercial interests shaping their conclusions, from citizens who understand enough about what is being built to demand something from the people building it, and from you, not as a technologist, not as a policymaker, as a person who votes, who chooses, who consumes, who talks to other people, who shapes the culture that shapes the incentives that shape the decisions that determine what this technology becomes. The conversation about AI is still mostly happening in rooms you are not in. The decisions are still mostly being made by people who were not elected and are not accountable to you in any direct way. That can change, but only if enough people understand what is at stake to demand that it does. Here is what is actually at stake. Not jobs, though jobs matter. Not privacy, though privacy matters. Not even safety, though safety matters enormously. What is at stake is the question of whether the next chapter of human experience is authored by humans, whether the values that shape your world, the information that forms your beliefs, the opportunities available to you, the relationships that sustain you, the meaning you are able to construct from your life, whether all of that remains in any meaningful sense yours, or whether it becomes the output of systems whose objectives were set by a small group of people in a specific historical moment, optimizing for things that seemed important then in ways that could not have fully anticipated what you would need now. This is not a question with a predetermined answer. It is a question being answered right now, incrementally, in thousands of small decisions being made by companies, governments, researchers, and individuals who may or may not understand the weight of what they are deciding. You are one of those individuals. That is not a small thing. You are sitting in front of a screen right now. Something on that screen was already shaped by a machine. You did not notice. And in that quiet, unremarkable moment, the most significant transition in the history of human cognition was already underway. The day machines outthink us will not feel like a rupture. It will feel like a Tuesday, a more convenient Tuesday, A Tuesday where the answer arrived faster, and the decision felt almost obvious, and the content was somehow exactly what you wanted to see. And somewhere in the background, the machine will already be working on Wednesday. The only question that remains, the only question that has ever mattered in moments like this one, is whether you are still in the room when it decides what Wednesday looks like. You can be, but only if you choose to be, and only if you choose now.